This is NAB Show Live.
You know, that was such and
Hi,
such.
this is Steve Wong. I'm a technologist focusing on media, telco, and the entertainment industry. We're here at NAB Live with some of my favorite guests. I want to introduce you to Erik, who's a producer in Hollywood, who's producing an interesting blockchain show, and Chris, who's with an amazing technology company called Dragonchain, which is a spin-off of Disney. Folks, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. So Erik, tell us about the stuff you're doing and tell us a little bit about your new TV show based on blockchain.
Sure. So Cryptos is the story of a discouraged group of actors living in LA who discover how blockchain and cryptocurrency is a new way for them to fund their film projects, and they go to work on creating the world's first decentralized studio, a company called Dionysia. And in their journey of building this studio, they quickly discover what's happening in the world of financial corruption and the global balance of power. So it's not, we're diving these characters into the world of cryptocurrency, but at the same time, we're exposing what's happening in the finance world right now and how cryptocurrency is having tremendous impact on the world around us.
It sounds like a revolution almost.
Well, it is a revolution.
So, Chris, tell us about Dragonchain and what does that have to do with movies? And I understand it was a Disney spinoff. So,
Yeah, so Dragonchain is a platform for enterprises to build blockchain applications. Originally developed in Disney. Our founder went to Disney specifically to develop it and was fortunate enough to be able to work across the range of divisions, everything from the parks to entertainment and content, to develop, to understand the use cases that he needed in order to be able to develop a viable platform that enterprises could use. And then Disney decided to open source the technology, and then he left to commercialize it. And so with that, we conducted a coin offering in late 2017 and have been building out the platform to make it even more usable and more developer friendly since then.
Interesting. So, Erik, how did blockchain come into making a television show?
It happened naturally. I've been working in the entertainment industry for 10 years. I've worked in international distribution and licensing of feature film. And as a producer, we're always looking for ways to finance pictures and to track royalties. And once I was exposed to cryptocurrency back in 2014, I did a Euro trip. They were using it to buy coffee in a coffee shop. I went down the rabbit hole, and I soon realized that this was the next big technology for entertainment, just like how streaming affected the entertainment industry. We see this industry changing every 10 years, in a massive revolution. And we just kind of knew instinctually, wow, this is something that we can apply as creators and as distributors, and can help us.
So you're going to disrupt Hollywood. You're going to absolutely change the things, just like Apple changed music. Is that what your intention is?
I think yes. I think that is my intention. But I think that's our intention, because I'm learning from a lot of great people like yourself and like Chris here, because you guys have the ability to do stuff that I can't do. I'm a creator. Mostly I'm a writer and a storyteller, but the tech side is stuff that we definitely need help with.
So Chris, what do you think of that? I mean, you guys come out of Disney, you hear a guy, like Erik, who's a writer and producer of his show. So what do you guys think? I mean, how could you help a producer, accomplish this kind of craziness of taking over and changing Hollywood?
So first off, it's people with big dreams who make big changes. So it starts with people like this guy who goes, hey, you know what? I want to change the game. And what we've been doing is building out the tools to make that the case. Back in 2011, Mark Andreessen had a statement. He said, software is eating the world. And by that, he meant that software was now being used in businesses and enterprises where it traditionally hadn't been used in generating a lot of financial returns. This was everything from Google, right? They took over advertising but never had a billboard. never had a platform, never had a television show, didn't have a newspaper, to Airbnb, taking over, you know, real estate, but they don't own a single building. Or Uber, it's taken over, you know, delivery of people to places, but they've never owned a car. So software was this vehicle, and software platforms have begun to make it easier for new software tools to be developed that can disrupt industries like Erik is talking about. So that's where we are. That's where we play. We're providing the tools for people like Erik to be able to make changes and disrupt industries.
Interesting. So, Erik, as a producer, I mean, how do you see that changing from what you normally do? When you create a show, when you produce a show, how does that change from the way Hollywood's been doing this 100 years?
I think it's a, like everybody says, it's a full paradigm shift. Hollywood in general is very closed. You know, a lot of the time you don't hear about this, you know, be working on a set and you haven't even had the chance to read a script. It's very secretive. And I think one of the major disruptors of this is utilizing blockchain. I mean, we have the ability to use it in the entire manufacturing process, from the financing of the project all the way to the creation of the product, the distribution of the product. We can utilize the blockchain, and then finally into the consumption of the product and monetizing the product. At every single step, we'll be able to use blockchain. And to go off my point about opening it up, when it comes to the marketing of your products through blockchain, we're going to be able to invite audiences to participate from the beginning of the founding of your concept or your story that you look to create. And that's a big deal. So we're encouraging community participation and interaction, because we can interact with the blockchain.
So tell me about that community. How many people have, like, you know, blockchain type of wallets?
So right now, today there's 35 to 36 active digital wallets in the space.
36 or 36 million?
36 million. Oh. 36 million.
Well, that's a whole lot of viewers. That's a whole lot of potential viewers.
It is, and it's growing exponentially. So we think that by this time next year, there'll be about 60 to 70 million active digital wallets in the space.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Chris, tell me about that. I mean, for our average viewer out there, on the simplest form, if you would explain this to a 6-year-old child, what the heck is blockchain and how does that different from cryptocurrency? If you would explain that to us, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, no problem. So I get this question often, and I sometimes say it's a trick question because, like Erik, I went down the rabbit hole with blockchain, and for the first 3 months of sitting around listening to people explain to me how it's a distributed ledger technology, like transactions are grouped into blocks and cryptographically put together, I would sit in the crowd and I would go, I still don't get it.
Right.
So I came up with a better way of describing it, I think. All of us have phones, probably have an iOS or an Android. iOS is a platform. They probably got, 3 million applications built on iOS now? Blockchain is a platform. You can build applications on it, just like iOS. It just so happened that the very first application built was launched at the exact same time as blockchain, and that was a cryptocurrency. That cryptocurrency we know is Bitcoin. And blockchain, why did Bitcoin need blockchain? Blockchain solved a very specific problem for something that wanted to function as digital cash. Cash, if I have $1 and I give you $1, you have it and you can spend it and I can't anymore. In the digital world though, if I want to share something with you, typically I make a copy of it. If I send you a PDF, I make an identical copy of it and I send it to you. That creates a problem if you're talking about cash, because how do I know that you have it? How do you know that you have it? More importantly, when you go to spend it with Steve or one of the vendors, how do they know that they have it? So blockchain solved this problem. We call it the double spend problem. And that was one of the specific things that it did. And this peer-to-peer nature of blockchain, like cash, meant there was no third party in between. So when I give you cash, it's just me and you transacting. Right. You know, there's no bank doing a debit and a credit somewhere. It's just me and you. And so blockchain technology enabled this peer-to-peer, solved this double spend problem, and has a number of other benefits as well. But that's that's something you can use at the cocktail party this weekend.
See, this is Erik, this is stuff that we face all the time, right? You write your script, you send it to someone, how do you know they got it? You know, maybe this is something that blockchain solves. You know?
That's exactly right.
Or you have residuals. You know, you run some music in a specific scene and you want to pay that artist. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Maybe this does it. So Chris, the question is, so how is your solution different than if I just ran a database?
Yeah.
I mean, tell me why I would use a blockchain solution as opposed to just running a database for, you know, a Hollywood type of solution.
Yeah, great question. So first off, one way to think about blockchain is it's a bit like a database with no admin. Because there's no admin, it means no one can go in and fudge the information once it's put in there. Anyone who's participating in that blockchain, we all agree to the information at the time that it goes into that database, and then it can't be changed. So it's immutable, very difficult, highly expensive to try and make changes to it. And so one of the things that makes Dragonchain particularly useful, and I'm going to get a little bit technical, but not too technical. So
Sorry, we have a technical audience here. So
wonderful.
That's okay.
So first, we're a hybrid platform, meaning we combine the benefits of a public protocol, like Bitcoin, with the benefits of a private platform. That means enterprises can keep data private that they want to keep private, but also we have a broad-ranging patent called an interchain patent, which enables us to connect to other blockchain protocols. And so a business might say, you know what, there's certain information I want to keep private, but there's some information I want to make public. I want people to be able to see. And so the flexibility of our platform allows a business to be able to say, yeah, I'm going to be able to make this information public that I want to make public and keep the information private that I want to keep private. So that's the first thing. Then secondly, from a technical perspective, sometimes developing for blockchain can be challenging. Ethereum requires a language called Solidity. I jokingly say there are no Solidity developers, they have to be made. And it's a really, really challenging language to write in. With Dragonchain, we allow you to write in pretty much whatever language you're comfortable in. So that means as a business or an enterprise, you don't have to go out and hire a new development team in order to create a blockchain application. You write your stuff in C# or Go or Python or Node.js and keep on moving, and everyone has developers who understand those languages. And then lastly, we're very fast to market. One of the challenges in the early days of blockchain space is some of the projects have been really custom, and it takes a lot of infrastructure and resources and 6, 8, 9 months to get a project live. With Dragonchain, you can get stuff live really quickly. It's very easy to deploy. You can have applications built and live in 3, 4 weeks, depending on the complexity of the application. So those are a couple of things that make Dragonchain unique. We also recently just launched a on-premise solution. That means you can have your blockchain on-premise, you can have it in whatever cloud you want to have it in, and that versatility and flexibility we find to be really useful for enterprises.
So tell me about security. I think that's on the top of everyone's mind. One, is this secure? Is it more secure? And the other thing is, so Erik put some famous actors, say 2 famous actors in a movie. Everyone's going to know how much everyone makes. In the real life Hollywood, they could have the same agent and they may not know intentionally what the other guys make. So how would you address a situation like that of security and then the information being too public?
Yeah, great question. So one of the things Joe, our founder, did when he was developing Dragonchain is he developed it as a multi-chain solution. So you as an enterprise, you as a producer, you own your data. You have your own private blockchain, and you have complete control over who sees what in that blockchain. And even when we do consensus, so most blockchains, when they do consensus, they share data across all the nodes that are coming together to agree on the transactions. With Dragonchain, we don't actually move the data. We take a hash or an encryption of that data, and we use that to come to agreement. That means your data never has to move anywhere, and that way you can be sure that it's secure. So, we literally built this specifically to address these concerns that you're raising here, whether it be security, whether it be flexibility, whether it be ease of use. That was what Joe was after when we built this.
Interesting. So Erik, as a creator of a show, how do you envision doing business differently with a blockchain? Are you seeing how you put your business models together differently? I'm just curious on how you see that.
Absolutely. The transparency that Dragonchain can offer is when we raise funding,
from the funding side even.
For funding, so it depends on the deal. If you go the network route or the studio route, obviously that's information, you know, how much people are getting made below the line, above the line. That's really unnecessary for the public to know. But if we crowdfund these projects and we encourage audience interaction from the beginning, and it's their money that's going into this, they could lose, they could make money, it's only fair that they see where the money is going, and that's the transparency that the blockchain offers us. And in Hollywood, we've always had this nightmare of where's the money, where is it coming from?
That's the premise of the show, your show, right?
Right, that's part of the show, is that we're debunking that, and that's why they're building this company in the show, is they are tackling the issue of creating a decentralized studio that can encourage these types of projects. Yeah, as a producer who is going to be using the blockchain to fund projects and distribute them and monetize them, I see the transparency as a huge advantage, because now your audience will be able to see, as creators, how the money's being spent. And if you can build that trust factor in the creators that you give money to, that's only going to encourage the audience, what we call investor supporters, to support those creators actively as they create bigger and bigger projects.
Interesting. Now, Erik, I know you can't talk about the studio, but there's a big Hollywood studio that you're in development with on this show. So what do they think of blockchain? It's totally different than making a movie as it was 100 years ago. So what, in your meetings over the last few weeks, what do you hear from their executives?
I think they're very interested in the technology. Yeah. I think it's funny because there's a lot of guys in the community now who have had big reputations in filmmaking, who are looking for a second coming, and they're jumping into the blockchain pretty quickly. But some of the older studios who are slower to move sometimes with the onset of new technology are slower to look at this. So when we sat down with some of these studios, I think they're very excited, but I think they need to be educated a little more to understand.
Hey, that's why you're here.
And that's why we're doing this. But I just remember that, yeah, there was definitely a lot of questions, which is okay. Yeah.
So Chris, again, this is coming out of one of those big studios. So what sort of models do you see for the studios of the futures and broadcasters of the future and producers like Erik of the future using blockchain? I mean, what's your vision, or what's Dragonchain's vision?
It's a great question. When you look at entertainment, he's mentioned already some of the secrecy and some of the challenges about where stuff goes. What blockchain really enables is, if you can trust your data, what can you do? And it's really, there's a wide array of things that can be done once you know that you can trust the information, whether that be your residuals that are coming, or whether that be the information about your production, and who's involved. And so what blockchain really enables is that trust of the information, knowing that it's been agreed to at the time that it goes into the blockchain and it hasn't been changed. So when you look back over time, you know that you can verify and trust that data. And so, really it's how big is your imagination in terms of what those models might be in the future.
What, imagination in Hollywood? How is that possible, right? It's an interesting thing when I start thinking about blockchain. I think, well, what's a perfect solution for blockchain? It's like, blockchain only works when you get a bunch of people that have to work together, that don't trust each other. What is a better definition of that than Hollywood and television and movies, right?
I call them frenemies. They're friends, but they compete as well. And getting those folks to work together, the opportunity to create efficiencies where both individually and collectively the returns are greater than what they would be otherwise, there's massive opportunities there. And Hollywood is a perfect example of that.
So Chris, outside of Hollywood, I know you guys are working on a ton of projects. Who's using blockchain? We see a lot of proof of concepts out there. We see a lot of hype about it, but you guys are in the trenches. What kind of, I know you probably can't talk about the companies, but what sort of projects do you see folks actually using blockchain, not in a proof of concept, but in real life situations?
Yeah, well, probably the best example is Walmart. When Walmart stepped up and
Well, I
said,
guess
hey,
you can mention a company.
you know, well, Walmart, they publicly said, hey, we want all of our leafy vegetable producers all on the blockchain. I think it was by 2020 or something. That woke up an entire industry to thinking about supply chain, tracking our food and food safety. And so we're seeing a lot of interest in that area amongst a number of companies and entities that are going, oh, okay, this is an area that we're going to need to move into, so we need to start considering that. Other areas where we're seeing a lot of interest is in identity.
Really?
Where people are looking at how, the incidents with Facebook and other companies who have been hacked or have used our data in ways that we might not want to use our data to be used, has created this interest in, well, what if we turn back over control of our data to us as individuals rather than relying on these centralized entities to control and determine our data and also make all the money off of our data. And so the push from the current federated model, which is your log in with Facebook, log in with Google, trust them to verify who you are, to more of a self-sovereign model where you or I can verify who we are in the digital world without there being a third party required. That movement is real. It's probably going to take a little bit of time, but there's a lot of interest in that. Because the idea is, over time, we want to be able to give consent to who uses our data and who uses our identity. And that model of access and consent is a really interesting one.
Interesting. And Eric, I know you're at the big cryptocurrency conference. What was the buzz you heard? What sort of models are they using, blockchain for on your conversations? I know in your script you've got some awesome examples.
Everything.
Really? Like what?
Real estate, logistics, transportation, manufacturing, the food industry. I mean, everybody's using this to improve transparency and trust. So it's we were the only project down there doing a scripted show, so that we were the
really?
we were the first, and that gave us a lot of buzz because they're like, okay, now Hollywood's finally coming to the table. The media industry is coming to the table. But this really started in finance and crowd finance, and now we're getting into securities, and it's revolutionary. We believe that everything will go on chain. In reality, everything. Stocks, bonds, everything. So
it's funny. I remember, like way back in the 90s, the mid 90s. I worked for one of the big broadcasters, right? And I was one of the tech guys. And I broadcast our 5 p.m. news on our little postage stamp. My boss said, don't spend your time with that internet thing. It's a fad.
Yeah.
I sort of hear that about blockchain. Of course, the internet, not such a fad. I mean, what do you guys think about this? Is this a fad? Or is this going to change the world like the internet?
I was just came from Atlanta.
And we'll put money on it, and we'll visit each other 10 years from now.
Exactly. I was just in Atlanta. I was speaking at a fintech event for some of the historically black colleges down there, and I was telling the students, I said, this is me standing up and down, jumping up and down on one leg, screaming to you, this is the future. Just think about it. Our lives have gone more and more digital. Take currency, for example. The idea that we're not going to be able to transact in a more frictionless way. The idea that commerce, which is global in nature, that we're going to all pin everything back to the USD and try and figure out what pricing should be based on the US dollar for every single item. That just doesn't make sense over the long run. We're already seeing banks, I believe HSBC, they're doing internal transfers of their own money using tokens to reduce fees, and they're the bank. So if they're already moving in that direction, you can bet that that's where the rest of society will be moving over time.
I just want to say, I think there are scenarios where a blockchain isn't always necessary, but when you're dealing with communities across the web, and you want a level of transparency and trust, I think blockchains are more powerful than anything else on the market right now in terms of security. And again, to come back to storytelling on a mass level, I think utilizing blockchain to interact with your market and your audience is going to take storytelling, filmmaking, AR, VR, entertainment experiences to a much bigger audience, to a much
So what did
grander
they
scale.
think? When you were at that crypto conference and you were talking about your television show, what was the feedback? Did they think,
very
forget
excited.
it, really?
Well, the community right now, the cryptocurrency community is looking for a vehicle that can help bring their message mainstream. So right now, if you go to people on the street, you talk about, do you own any Bitcoin? I mean, sometimes they even get mad at me, that people are still, the general global population is, they've heard about it, they're still skeptical. People still think this is a scam. Blockchain has a much better reputation, of course. But, cryptocurrency and blockchain go hand in hand, and the community, because we went direct to the community down in Miami, they are looking for tools, and it won't just be us, there'll be many more tools, but they are looking for tools that can help bring this cultural revolution mainstream. Education is the biggest problem right now. People don't know what a blockchain is, they don't know how to use their cryptocurrency, and most importantly, there aren't enough ways to use your cryptocurrency or to interact with a blockchain. So those dApps, those developers that you guys are looking for Dragonchain, education is the biggest tool to bring more producers, more storytellers to your platform that look at your toolbox and say, hey, this is really easy. I can create a smart contract like this. I just want to do a 50-50 split between my investors. I want to give them voting shares, or if I'm James Cameron, no voting shares. You know what I mean? I know exactly what I want to do. You can make money off of my movie, but And then there'll be content creators, I think, in my generation, the millennials, and also in the up and coming generations, who are so in tune with their social media that they're going to utilize their social media to create. They're going to be creators that kind of represent what their following wants. Nice. It won't just be a singular vision. They'll act as a channel for their followings.
So wrapping up in 2 minutes, if Chris, in 1 minute, give us what you want the audience to know about Dragonchain. What's the takeaway about Dragonchain?
Dragonchain, the takeaway is it's the easiest platform out there to build on. If you want to get your blockchain applications built quickly, done well, deployed, and get users, Dragonchain is the place to come. And if you want to learn more about both blockchain as well as Dragonchain platform, feel free, reach out to us. We're all over social media at Dragonchain Gang on Twitter and also LinkedIn and YouTube. We're all over the place.
Very good. And the web address for Dragonchain is?
Dragonchain.com.
So easy. And Erik, what do you want folks to take away about your television show?
Well, bottom line, I hope we make a very fun story. I hope people fall in love with our characters and in love with their mission, because it's a David versus Goliath story about a bunch of artists and filmmakers who are fish out of water, and they're jumping into the world of cryptocurrency, and they're building this new system, this new machine that can launch projects like this. And so bottom line, we hope people are entertained and sit down and have a lot of fun, but can learn about blockchain and learn about cryptocurrency and learn that this is something that's here to stay, and it's something that they're going to be able to use in their industries, and it's going to better their life.
I can see that not only in Hollywood, but you can probably take those fish out of the water and put them in the fashion industry, and they'll disrupt things there.
In the
and pull them out
manufacturing industry. Oh yeah. Yeah, it applies. And that's the thing too, is this applies to every business. It doesn't matter what industry you're working in. You can be a carpenter, you could be a rug manufacturer, you could be a restaurant chain. You have the ability right now to educate yourself on this and use it to give yourself an advantage in the industry that you're working in. It applies to everything. And I think it applies to government too. I think that's one of the big things coming is putting governments on blockchain, voting on blockchain. No more Recounts.
Yes.
There would be no recounts, right?
Oh, sometimes there's bugs in the blockchain, but in general, the statistics are far less. So I think we'll see. There's a lot coming.
There are a number of people working on that as we speak.
Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. And the website where folks can find out about the crypto show, or how can they find out about the upcoming Cryptos TV show?
Very simple, cryptostheshow.com, cryptostheshow.com, and you can go there and see some of the producers on board, and there's a promo trailer, story synopsis, and you can get in touch with us if you have an idea or if you want to participate.
I'm thinking
with us.
there's this company that might be a good for, a cameo in there.
Yeah.
They spun out of Disney. You might have heard of them, Dragonchain.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh, definitely. I've been thinking the same thing, actually.
Like where this man's head
Yeah,
is.
and if we could get some of that Disney
Tokens.
Disney tokens, we may be off to the races.
Hey, fund the show, there you go.
Hey, we'll see.
Very cool. So is there anything else you guys want to add for our show today?
I think just overall the entertainment space is ripe for disruption. Whether he talked about so many different places where blockchain technology can be applicable, from the fundraising aspects and the tokens, and STOs, security token offerings. Even overseas, you can still do utility token offerings as well, right through to tracking and traceability of content for residuals. We didn't talk about pause and purchase, which is TV commerce, television commerce, where you can actually be selling products right from within the shows and leveraging that capability through the OTT providers. So there's really a broad use cases across the entertainment space, and we can help support those.
I want to thank you guys for being here. It was really an exciting half an hour, and again, really, it's such a pleasure having you here and working together with you guys. So thanks very much. Guys, check out Dragonchain. Please check out Cryptos, the TV series coming up. So again, thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back. Thanks very much for tuning in to NAB Live.